Alrighty, here we go. Field dressing with Tucker and Twine. Probably the most requested video I've had since starting my Instagram and YouTube channel. This is just the way I do it. No means is it the right or wrong way. It's just the way I do it. So I start with separating the colon. So I'm creating a bit of a channel here, or a gate here down to the colon, you could say. When I pull the gut pole out, it all comes out through the pelvis. So eventually we will cut that out. So I'm just doing a little bit of work here to get ready for that. But what we're going to do here is separate the colon. It's the first job I always do when I start field dressing, is make sure the colon is separated. So you want to do deep cuts in, I guess you could say. Deep cuts all around, create quite a decent gate here. So you don't want to be pulling it out and getting feces on your meat when it does come time to pull the guts out. So here I am, it's not a bad camera angle. Sorry, it's not closer, but filming by myself out here. That's what we're working with. So you can see I'm cutting in there and just separating the colon. Alrighty, now I go up to I'm feeling there for the rib cage. Now I'm cutting on the edge of the rib cage, and I'm cutting down and up. You could say down and up. Now that is on purpose. I find it the easiest way to do it, where you're not getting hair on your animal. Yep, just get the pecker out of the way. It is what it is. You just got to do it. Part of the process. Up and down, up and out, should I say, up and out. And I just found this is the best way to not get hair on the animal. You're not cutting against the grain, cutting with it, and just cutting down to that first initial cut I made. There we go, tying them in. Now here I'm just cutting the hide back a little bit, just give myself a bit more room to move, a bit more room to work with here. All the way up. This is just for helping later on. This is work you do for helping later on. And from here, I will cut all the way up to the base of the jaw. Same deal, just cutting hide. Again, this is just to help with later on. Same technique, up and out with the blade. Again, trying to minimize the amount of hair you get on your meat. Alrighty, now I am cutting down the pelvis bone, opening up this gate. This will also help in warmer weather to start cooling down the deer, because this is where, if you are going to get meat spoilage, you will get it in this area first, as it's the thickest part of the deer and retains heat the longest. So yeah, just cutting down the side of the pelvis bone, not cutting the urethra. It is there, you can see, but just creating a bit of a channel here. So I have something that I will saw this out later. I've got a little Leatherman that I keep with me, and I'll saw that out. Okay, now we're going to cut into the gut cavity. Try not to nick the stomach. That's pretty important here. So I'm just being gentle, just cutting down until I see that I've cut through the muscle that's here. It's quite tough, but you can nick it fairly easy. So that technique there is how I would cut the rest of this, where I had the 2 fingers in. You lift up the muscle and cut down with your blade, but I actually switch over to the hook here. I didn't even think, just went into second nature, just how I process. I've got a hook on my blade, and second nature, I went straight to it. But that is the cutting technique. If you do not have a hook on your blade, how I would do that. Just 2 fingers in, lift the muscle up, and cut away down to the pelvis bone, so you're not nicking stomach. But yeah, here I am just with the hook, cutting down, opening up that gate. Now we move to opening up the rib cage. So I'll open up I got my Leatherman here. If you have a little saw or something like that, you can use it. Whatever you take out with you. I do recommend, I should have said this at the beginning of the video, but having a blade to skin and to gut, all that sort of jazz. I carry that out, and then I have a little Leatherman with a saw on it. I do find that pretty handy bit of gear. Here I am just opening up the rib cage. Sawing it. Because once I do this, I'll open up the ribs, cut the esophagus, cut the heart out, there you go, opening it all up. Give yourself a bit of room to move. So just open it up a bit more, and terrible camera work here, but what I'm doing is, yeah, cutting the esophagus, and I'm cutting the heart out of the little sac that it lives in. I always, it's just tradition, I will always take the heart home and cook it the night of processing a deer. It's just something I've done for a long time now. It's my favourite. It's one of my favourite cuts of meat, actually. There you go. I ended up making hunter schnitzel with it, actually. And what are we doing here? Oh, we're cutting the diaphragm. So you got to cut that diaphragm. You will not be able to tear. You will not be able to tear it out. It is quite a strong bit of muscle. Oop, look away, fellas. Yep, it's the piss tube, the urethra here. I'm pulling it out. Yep, look away, fellas. So what I actually do here, this is a tip. I cut as high as I can. You'll see here, cut there. Yep, and what that does is stop piss, or urine, should I say, sorry, correct wording. Stop urine getting on your meat, because it will spray down the bottom if you cut down the bottom. Alrighty, now this is us cutting out the pelvis bone. So I'm using that Leatherman saw again. When you do this, you want to push the intestines up as well. You don't want to nick them with your saw. Not the best with the camera work, but yeah. So I cut either side of the pelvis bone and create a gate for the gut pile to come straight out. Here you see me here removing that gate, or it's what I call a gate. It's just the pelvis bone. There you go. Just like that. Cut either side, and now pretty well those guts are just sitting in there. Really, the diaphragm and a couple little bits of tissue or muscle that anything's keeping it in. So, yeah, drag it out just like this. Yeah, nick away where you need to. If there's a bit of diaphragm still holding it, nick that away, and yeah, it's really that easy. Once you do it a couple of times, you'll do it your own way. You'll find your own way of doing it. If this is the technique you use, you'll find your own little ways of doing it. Maybe you'll do the steps a little bit different. I probably do the steps a little bit. So maybe sometimes I'll cut the pelvis bone away before going into the rib cavity. But this is just, yeah, there you go. It all comes out just like that. Now this is ready. You tip it over, get rid of the blood, make it into a backpack. You can pack it out like that, or quarter it like I've done here.